All right. So let's just, before we start, let's just settle into a comfortable seated posture. And you can either have your feet, flat on the floor, or be seated in a cross-legged position. And if you're sitting cross-legged, I would really urge you to sit on something maybe like 1 to 2 inches in height, just to kind of prop up your sacrum. It keeps the spine aligned if you sit that way. Then a couple of cushions under either knee. It looks like you're looking quite good, Robert. So nice and straight. Yeah, very good. Oh, perfect. Look at you. Okay, well done. And then if your feet are flat on the floor, try and have them about hips width apart. And align your shoulders with your hips. And just lengthen your spine. Actually, before we go into that visualization, just imagine you have these Dr. Spock ears, these like pointy little ears like this. And then imagine your spine is being lengthened and then your head just glides back very gently. It's not, and just to the point that's available to you. And now imagine your spine is this beautiful string of pearls of light, stretching from the base all the way up through the crown of the head and beyond. And so just really imagine your spine is just getting a little bit longer with beautiful amount of space in between your vertebrae. And particularly for those of you who maybe have some issues with your discs, spine, visualization and breath go a long way. Now bring your awareness to the crown of the head and relax your scalp. And, bringing your attention back to last week. Maybe you can feel some sensation there on the crown of the head. And if you can't, I invite you just to sort of maybe tap either side of the crown of your head, just very lightly in between it, or maybe just rest your palm on the crown of the head. If you can't feel any sensation, you can just create some. And notice how your attention immediately goes there. And now just move down your face and allow a little bit of softening to come into your face. And just relax the forehead and the eyebrows, the eyes, the back of the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, the mouth. And the back of the head and the neck. So, imagine your neck is getting a little bit longer, and you can achieve this by just dropping your chin a little bit, but not too far, so as you just kind of, the weight of your head pulls you out of alignment. Just, you're basically hinging from the top of the spine. Kind of the skull sort of sits in the spine there. No, the spine sits in the skull. So it's like a bit of a hinge. If you've ever seen a skeleton at school, or if you studied at college, university. So you can just allow that hinge. So release the base of the spine. Imagine there's some space or some air or something. Very, very the base of the occipital bone. If your head is too far forward, you're pulling yourself out of alignment and creating some unnecessary stress on the upper back. And if your head is tipped too far up, it creates agitation in the mind. So we're somewhere in the middle, you know, and bring your attention to the breath. And I think we sort of stopped at the neck. So just relax your shoulders and your shoulder blades. Allow some softening around the throat area. Relax your chest. Imagine your chest is expanding, is opening, is relaxing. And particularly the muscles around the clavicle area. Imagine they're just releasing, putting some space again in between your shoulders. Relax the belly and your limbs, your arms. Maybe notice if you can feel any sensation there in your hands. And if you wish, your right hand can be nestled in the left with the thumbs touching. I think I may have mentioned this in another class, but Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to always talk about this particular mudra activates the bodhicitta channel. So I don't know terribly much about the impact of mudra on the body, but there's a lot of mudra in India, and I think other traditions as well. But what I do understand is that these kind of mudras have an impact on the very subtle nervous system, of which we may not feel or even notice. But if you just for a moment put your hands in that position, the right hand nestled in the left with the thumbs touching, you feel a kind of circularity of energy around your front body. And maybe there is a channel that is connected. Maybe the thumbs goes to the heart. I don't know. I never got an opportunity to ask Rinpoche. If that doesn't work for you, you can just place your hands on your lap or just somewhere comfortable. You can also place your hands in the chin mudra, which is the thumb and the forefinger touching. For some people who study yoga or have done different kinds of meditation, this might work for you. And notice the sensation of the air as you inhale and exhale. The air that you're inhaling is a little bit cooler than the air you're exhaling. Now be aware of any sounds in your environment. The wind has started blowing here, so my wind chimes are making a little bit of music. You might hear that. And then the nighttime animals are starting to wake, and the birds are settling in for the evening. We have very little traffic up here. So, different sounds you may have in your home. You may have pets or people, or I know Shayla has children there. So just allow those sounds to be there, trying not to follow them with the mind, or in Shayla's case, she may need to have one eye and one ear open. But traditionally, when you meditate, you just allow the sound. You would kind of settle your sound, your space, before you go into your practice. To the point where you don't have to get up and check something halfway through. So, if you're fortunate enough to be able to do that, and then you just allow the sounds to be there, trying not to follow them with your mind. Because you just try it for a moment. Hear a sound and allow your mind just to kind of wander off. It feels a bit weird. It's almost like a part of you's gone for a walk somewhere. So this is how we get very distracted. So then bring the mind back to the same place your body is. And now notice the thoughts that might be arising in your mind. So, as there's several of you here who it's quite late already. It's 9 o'clock. It's the time I start to feel quite sleepy. So first of all, well done for coming. So, for some of you, you've had a longer day than others, which I might be the only West Coast person here. So just see what's your day been. Check in with yourself. Hi, how are you? What did you do today? And allow the thoughts to bubble up. Maybe try and put some space in between the thoughts. And try not to follow, follow along with the story. Try and put some space there in between those thoughts. Maybe notice a color or a texture, an emotion. If you take a step back and just observe without any judgment or opinions, and just see what's there. You're like a kind of like a scientist, and observing the mind. And you be curious. So we have a tendency, a habit. Most people have this habit to identify very, very strongly with the negative aspects of our mind. So some we seem to just quite easily gravitate towards. Maybe your body isn't doing what you want it to do. Maybe maybe you're in your life, things aren't happening the way you want, or maybe you just feel really bad about yourself. Maybe your hair isn't the right color, or maybe you feel like you haven't done enough or you're not good enough somehow. So, just put all of that aside. I was going to do this bit later, but I want to do it now. So just put a replica of yourself in front of you and just look at yourself a little bit objectively. And then make a list in your mind of all the wonderful things people say about you. All your qualities. Maybe you're generous in some way. Maybe you're highly skilled in some way. Maybe you're generous with that skill. So think of the things that people say about you that are positive. And maybe you think is that list short? Is it shorter than your negative qualities list that we also readily identify with? So maybe try and lengthen the positive qualities list. You may have a number of qualities that you don't even realize you have. But try and see yourself in the light of these qualities. You're supporting yourself in the way you might support your best friend. Or like I think I said the other night, what would it take for you to sort of speak to yourself the way you speak to your favorite puppy? Hello, my darling. How are you this evening? Oh my gosh, aren't you the most beautiful person, the most beautiful dog in the whole wide world? Let me give you a tummy rub. Just so gorgeous. It's kind of how we speak to our pets. We should be speaking to ourselves that way. And the look on your pet's face when you tell them off, the same way you might tell yourself off. They kind of look devastated. They don't know what to do with that information. They can feel the energy and see the look on your face. So maybe think about turning more towards your positive qualities. And maybe after this session, you can maybe write some of those qualities down actually physically on a piece of paper. And when I did this exercise with these lovely people at the YMCA, some of them told me that they found that a very difficult thing to do. So don't feel too badly if that's hard for you. So now let's focus a little bit on our equanimity meditation. I love to do this one every day, just simply because it's such a good reminder. So there's a number of elements in this meditation. So it's the equanimity meditation of friend, enemy, stranger. It's the first of the meditations or topics in this developing bodhicitta section, right at the end of the Lamrim. There's also this idea of impermanence in here. So you start with these people that you love. Some people that we have these extraordinary relationships with, and when they kind of come along, it's like almost we're blown away by the simplicity and the ease and the huge amount of love. These are friends, our spouses and children and, people we're close to. And then there are people in our life who we don't feel super comfortable with. Either we don't trust them because they're one way, they're this way one time and another way this time. And so you never know who's going to be turning up. And then we have our strangers. Well, I just came home with probably about 1,000 of them. We were all in traffic together. And I wasn't really thinking about who was in those cars. I just wanted to get back here. And, despite how we feel about each and every one of these different groups of people, that they are interchangeable. These relationships are interchangeable. And, when you're kind of in a relationship with someone, whether it be a friendship or a spousal relationship, you don't think for a minute it's going to change or that it's going to end. This very dear friend of mine, they had a wonderful marriage, beautiful partnership. And one day he got a headache and it just got worse and worse to the point where he was throwing up. So they called the ambulance. And then they rushed him to hospital here in Marin General. And then they immediately sent him for an MRI. And he had an inoperable brain tumor and he died not terribly long after. And it was very sudden. When I talked to my friend, it was almost like there were some changes in his behavior, but it was nothing, it was nothing really dramatic. It was, she said he sort of was expressing anger where he never had before. That completely changed her whole life, upended it. So things like this happen to people, and so there was, that relationship still exists, of course, in her heart and her mind, but the physical relationship's gone. So here's this, when Lama Zopa Rinpoche passed away, Kadrala's advice was to focus on impermanence. Nobody was expecting Rinpoche to pass at the time that he did. Nobody. He wasn't sick, apart from his usual, bits and pieces, but he was not unwell. So it's a huge teaching. And it's something we always really need to remember. So there's that little bit on impermanence. And then, and here's the thing about equanimity is that all of these people in these different groups, in the relation to us, although we only see our loved ones as the ones who are brilliant and kind and wonderful and gorgeous with potential, actually everybody is that way. They're all like us with these extraordinary capacities. And then, everybody just like you and me, we don't want to suffer. And we want to be happy. We want to be satisfied. So there's our little equanimity meditation to hopefully sort of level out our, our idea that those people over there, we don't need to care about at all because they're not in my circle of needing to worry about them. And then that person over there who I don't like, I'm just going to keep my way. And you don't have to invite all these people home for dinner. You don't have to bring them into your house. It's just what's going on for you mentally. And one of the most beautiful things about His Holiness is that everybody that goes to have an interview with him always comes back thinking that His Holiness is now their best friend because he treats everybody that way. Okay, so I think we'll do this, these meditations this evening for the benefit of all those people of our life and by extension, all sentient beings. And that was a half-hour motivation. All right. So, in our last session, we looked at this, we started with this body scan. So we started with mindfulness of through the touch of the body. And then we introduced this idea of a body scan meditation where we actually, rather than touching the body, we just allowed our mind to go there and feel sensations. So today we're looking a little bit at introspection. And, it talks about mindfulness in combination with introspection. So mindfulness allows our mind and our attention to stay engaged with a familiar object, like our breath, and, without losing touch with it or without being distracted elsewhere. So actually quite a challenging task. And the strength of this, our ability to remain mindful, depends on the familiarity of the object and the strength of the associations we've built up in relation to it. And, our mindfulness allows us to keep that object in the foreground of our awareness and our concentration to deepen. So it depends on familiarity. And one of the reasons why a lot of meditation techniques are about the breath, prana, because we are always breathing. It's here with us all the time. So the implication for our practice of mindfulness is to take care in building up this familiarity and strong associations through repeatedly returning our attention to our chosen object of mindfulness. So the breath, the sensations, either at the base of the nostrils, here, the base of the nose, or the tip of the nose, or the side. So my Burmese teachers from, I think I started in 1980 something. No, it must have been a bit later than that. Maybe 85 or 6. I was about 30. Such a long time ago. It's like 36 years ago. My initial meditation teachers were Burmese, and they were in the Vipassana tradition. And so they taught us to focus on a spot at the base of the nose. So you kind of build up a familiarity about where to go when you just get on your mat. And so when you built up a familiarity like this, you just naturally gravitate towards it. And it's like, effortless effort. So we don't try and push our mind to conform to our wishes. It's just kind of like effortless. You just come in, sit down, you have this familiar idea about where you're going to place your focus, and there it goes. And so for some people, they want to focus on the breath. Some people, they want to focus on the breath in the nostrils. Others, the rising and the falling of the chest, and some the belly. Some people find an object of focus. It could be a visual object. So it can be different for different people, and different types of meditations that we've been doing. So in the mornings, we're doing mainly visualization meditation with mantra. And what the meditation we did at the beginning of the class, the equanimity and impermanence, is analytical. And what we're looking at now is concentration. So in the practice of mindfulness, we can also make use of another natural ability of our mind, which is introspection. So introspection is a bit like a spy, checking and monitoring how our mind and body are doing in our meditation. And it's our introspection that allows us or alerts us to our mind being distracted away from our object of mindfulness, or it being overwhelmed with dullness or drowsiness. And, with this introspection, which, we can nurture this skill over time, we can then quickly return our attention to the object of mindfulness and thus strengthening our mindfulness. So the stronger our mindfulness, the easier it is to notice a deviation, because there's such a contrast between being attentive to the breath, for example, or being distracted somewhere else. So then the strength of our introspection increases in step with that of our mindfulness. And this is kind of how these two qualities just mutually support one another. So I think what we'll do now is go and do this. We'll do the body scan meditation again. That's what it's recommending. So you can either be sitting in a regular meditation posture, or you can be lying down if you need to. You can also sit on a chair. And if you are lying down, I would recommend you lie down on your back. That's what they're saying here. And then maybe put a couple of inches underneath your head, and maybe have your knees up on maybe on a chair, or just have your feet on the floor. So allowing your spine to be in its natural position. You can rest your hands and arms, where it's comfortable, either on the physical support or in your lap, allowing your shoulders to be relaxed. And you can close your eyes. Or one of the suggestions is, to help with dullness and distraction, is to maybe just dullness. If you open your eyes, sometimes it makes it distracting. So just crack the eyes open a tiny, tiny bit, and that just enables you to be able to let a little bit of light in. And that's enough to kind of give you a little bit of energy. So you can have your eyelids slightly cracked open if you feel that it's not going to be too distracting. The other thing that is sometimes suggested is that you can imagine you're raising the corners of your mouth as if you're about to break into a smile. And notice what that does to the mind. Immediately lifts the mind. So return your attention to your body to be in touch with the simple sensations there. And start at the crown. Notice the sensations at the topmost part of our body. Perhaps it's a little bit of tingling, maybe some pressure. Maybe the crown of your head is warm or cool. And maybe there's nothing there at all, which is also fine. So just take a few breaths here with your attention on the sensations at the crown of the head. Notice the sensations now on your face. So we've already been through, we've done a kind of a simple scan at the beginning. So really notice whether you're tensing up any of your facial muscles, the forehead, the eyes, the jaw, the mouth. So just for a moment, just squeeze your eyes shut, grit your teeth, and then let go. And can you allow a little bit of softening and ease and comfort into your face? Just relax the muscles of the face. And invite your attention to come back to the body, to the neck and throat. And just notice the sensations there for 2 or 3 breaths. And moving on to our shoulders, you just check in with your shoulders. How are you feeling today? Are you a little tight? Are you a little relaxed? What's going on there? And there's the shoulder joint. How is that for you? If you notice any tension or uncomfortable feelings here at the shoulders or anywhere else, can you simply acknowledge those feelings and just let them be for the time being without focusing too much on there? Do we have to change it immediately for the better? We just let it be. And allow now your attention to flow down both arms at the same time. And just notice the simple sensations at your upper arms, at both of your elbows, down to the lower arms, your forearms, and finally arriving at both hands. Can you feel the sensations at the palms and the back of the hands and in our fingers? For some of you, your palms and hands may be resting in one another, or just the palms may be flat on your sides. So having activated all these sensations into our awareness, can you now rest both of your arms and hands on their physical support and release their weight into gravity? And coming back to our chest, to our heart chakra, what do we find here? Can we feel the breath along with any other sensations? And as we notice our natural out-breath, we can take this opportunity to release. And just allow anything unhelpful or unwanted to somehow flow away with the out-breath. Just take 4 slow breaths here. And as you're breathing, are you breathing 360? Are you feeling any sensations in the back body? Or are you only breathing into your chest? Can you feel your ribs expanding at the side of the body and the back of the body? And now allow your attention to come down to our abdomen. And rest your attention within your body at the level of the navel. And just sense the sensations there. So you can go in about 2 inches. And then move inside down to the base of the spine. And rest your attention at the tip of the tail of the spine within the pelvic region. So that is your coccyx. So sense any sensations there. So you might be feeling your sits bones. So feel the weight of the pelvis on its physical support and see if we can release that weight so that our pelvis can rest comfortably here. And now allow your attention to flow down both legs at the same time. And notice the simple sensations at both hip joints, your upper legs, your knees, and down to the lower legs, and finally arriving at both feet. You can sense the sensations at the soles of the feet, at the top of the feet, and in our toes. And having activated all these sensations into our awareness, can we rest both legs on the ground and release their weight into gravity? And rest your body in this posture and allow it to settle comfortably there. Rest your attention here with your body and your breath. And each time we notice ourselves exhaling, use it as an opportunity to deepen this sense of release, releasing anything unhelpful and unwanted. We release ourselves deeper into here and now, into our meditation, into being 100% present. So we're going to talk a little bit now about working with distraction and dullness. And before we do, can I suggest you have a little wriggle? And maybe if you have anything you'd like to share or if you have any questions, please go ahead. Anything at all from those meditations or from what we discussed? Shayla, oh.
Yes, I did like having the option to, when the breath wasn't working for me, switching and moving to the stomach. That was a lot. As we were going down, it was really nice because I wasn't focusing until we got to the
belly.
belly, and then
Okay.
that seems to work a lot better for me.
Okay, great. So when you're focusing on the breath, you're focusing on the rising and the falling of the belly rather than coming in and out of the nostrils. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And Bob. Are you Robert or Bob? You may have already told me.
Robert.
You're Robert. Okay.
Huh? When I try to close my eyes, I can't meditate with my eyes closed. That's going to be a problem. If I close and I get about 3 seconds.
Oh, that's so interesting. Are your eyes slightly open or are they wide open?
No, I will 6 feet ahead, kind of stare out a little bit, half mask maybe.
Yeah,
But when I
that's fine.
close them, I get very agitated.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I think then work that way. Work with it, whatever works for you. It's definitely when you see a lot of the more experienced meditators, they aren't meditating with their eyes completely closed. They're slightly open. Their eyes might be down. They might be down like this. I've got a bit of plant here. But their eyes are just a little bit cracked open. In fact, if you can meditate like that way, I think it's quite good because you're allowing some light in. It keeps the mind bright.
Okay.
So there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So now, if you were in a yoga class and the teacher asked you to close your eyes and you had them open, they would worry about that because it would indicate that somebody doesn't feel safe to lie down in a group of people with their eyes closed. But I don't think that's the case for you. I think it's are you not hearing me? I think it's more about you may have had another life where you've been a meditator. It's quite possible. And then for you, this is the most comfortable thing for you. So just go with that. Okay. Anyone else? Shayla, yeah? No? Okay. Samir, Phyllis, Kimberly, Alice? Anything? Otherwise, we'll just keep going.
Keep going.
Hello?
Keep going.
Oh, keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were saying Kimberly. Okay. So now we're this idea of distraction and dullness. So I touched on it a little bit before. When we start to pay a little bit more attention mindfully, we shine a light on our experiences, including the body. We become aware of how our attention doesn't stay with the object of mindfulness very easily. And it can be as simple as we maybe had too much coffee, or we've had too much sugar, or, and so it kind of it makes the mind a little agitated. So there are processes that interrupt and draw our attention away. And these there's two broad categories that they talk about. They're dullness and distraction. So dullness refers to the loss of alertness and vividness of attention. So we all know what dullness is like. It's like when you're falling asleep. And this includes experiences of drowsiness and sleepiness, and then spacing out and blanking out of the mind. So one of the students today in the meditation class at the YMCA, she said she blanked out and lost several sentences of what I was saying, and it freaked her out a bit, but she did manage to bring herself back. And this kind of darkness and fogginess of the mind, and an overall lack of energy of the mind, so that the mind is not as clear and alert as it can be in engaging its object. So I think we all know what that is about. And my, feeling is that as we get more engaged with all of our devices, as we have more opportunities to be constantly online or engaged somehow with our phones, it's harder and harder to do this kind of practice without feeling distracted. And I remember, even as long ago as 2017 or 18, I used to go from Kopan over to Bodh and do some prostrations. And there was one time I was there, and this monk was sitting there at the Bodh stupa, and it looked like he was in retreat. And then when I walked behind him, he was playing one of those highly addictive computer games on his iPad. Candy Crush. Yeah, he was playing Candy Crush. And I was like, wow, it was this early in the morning as well. Anyway, so that's distraction. So distraction refers to the movement of attention away from the object of mindfulness towards sounds and thoughts and other experiences, memories, fantasies. And this isn't the opposite. This is an excessive amount of energy in the mind that kind of doesn't allow you to sort of settle down and stabilize on the object of mindfulness. And the most common type of distraction, is this compulsive involuntary thinking. And this refers to the many thoughts that capture our attention and keep it involved in matters of the past, or imagining the future, or going over conversations. And it's often accompanied by various emotional responses. So like we have an emotional response about something that we've made up in our mind that hasn't even happened, or might not even happen, or we maybe have imaginary conversations that haven't happened, might not happen. So it's really, when you catch yourself doing this kind of thing, it's really a little bit, if you were to speak your thoughts out, you'd be probably going off to get some psychiatric help, I think. Sometimes I think the only difference between our minds doing this kind of thing and, sometimes you see people kind of a little bit lost their mind on the street. some people who are living unhoused. I mean, they're just often expressing what we're thinking in our own mind, chattering away to themselves, shouting at somebody for crossing in front of them. Because all we're very well behaved, we don't do like that. But maybe that's what's happening in the mind. So one of the things Yangtze Rinpoche talks about in the mind is just to constantly develop awareness about what's there. So when we're working with distraction and dullness, it's like we need to become kind of aware of the various reactions that affect the functioning of our body and mind. So initially we looked at in that last meditation about being aware of the uncomfortable tensions in the body. And then also we might become aware of any dullness or distracting thoughts. So when you start to, first of all, when you start to meditate and then you start to shine a light on all these things, you might feel a little bit disappointed. But actually, it really is a sign of progress in your practice once you start to see what's there. And it means that we're more in touch with what's happening and can take steps to sort of deal with what's going on. So with the help of a practice like mindfulness of breathing and repeatedly and very gently returning your attention to the simple breath sensations in your body, you can actually begin this process of weakening your old habits of dullness and distraction. And part of that is finding a nice environment in which to meditate. So, one of the suggestions is that you have a room. Shola, it looks like you have a little gompa there or a little space there to meditate in. No? Okay.
No, I live in a 2-room little house.
Oh,
The
okay.
bathroom and then everything else.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's like me.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is no space.
So, if possible, so my little meditation space is this tanka behind me, and then my altar in front, and then out in the garden I have a plaque of a Buddha face on a fence. So this is my little kind of meditation space. But I'm the only one living here, so I can create what I want. And the environment's very quiet, so it's conducive. And I do a lot of practice in here, so because I'm leading all these meditations in here. So I'm quite fortunate because it builds up a little bit of energy. On the weekend, a friend and I, Linda and I, were leading meditation and yoga and Tai Chi Chuan retreat at Green Gulch, which is it's a Zen center. It's beautiful in Marin. It's huge, like forest. It's beautiful. They grow their own food, And I really noticed, because all of the people that I was leading the meditation with, they're not Buddhists, and they all have quite busy lives, and they don't really know much about meditation. And they all sunk in pretty quickly. And I'm pretty sure it was to do with the environment. So that practice was, Green Gulch is a Zen center, San Francisco Zen Center. It's a branch of the San Francisco Zen Center. And there's just a bunch of people just there living there, meditating, serving. And, when you get a group of people sitting there meditating, it does create a certain kind of energy. So it becomes more conducive. So your external environment is actually quite important, unless you're highly advanced. But I noticed also too, when I went up to Laudo for the first time and I went into Rinpoche's cave, I was amazed at how easy it was just to come, boom, sink in. I'm not super good at concentrating, and I think I was surprised at how easy that was. And it's just, the Laudo Lama has been in there, Lama Zopa Rinpoche has been in there, Lama Yeshe's been in there, even said that Guru Rinpoche used to meditate in there. So I think that in a way they always suggest when you're setting up your meditation space, have one place in your house that you use for your practice and your meditation, if you can, if that's possible for you. Maybe if you're living in, like Shayla and I, living in a house with just one room and a bathroom, for Shayla, you've got children there, so it's not always easy for you to have a spot like that. But you have a beautiful tanka behind you, and you can sit facing it, and that can be your little spot, and then you find a time where the kids aren't racing around a million miles an hour, But it is, we in these Western world we live in, it's challenging. And maybe for some of you, it's a place out in the bush, out in the forest somewhere, out in the wilderness. So that's, I just wanted to say it's not easy, and having a place to meditate in a designated spot's always a great idea as well. And when I was living with my friend Judith, she had a beautiful Gompa space where lots of people had come to meditate and I'd done several retreats there. Other people had done retreat there. And so we had a little couch, and I would just sit on there, and that's where I do my practice. And it was kind of easy for me there. Here I've had to work on building up energy in this place because there's not been any other practitioners in here. So it's a matter of just kind of creating the energy myself. But the space is small, and Christine and John are, they're extraordinary people, not necessarily Buddhists, but we have prayer flags all over the place. They recently went to Bhutan. So your external environment does impact you. So keep that in mind as well. Where else were we? Yeah. So, also repetition and familiarity is very, very helpful. And the more practice we have, the easier it becomes. So like this, our Vajrasattva group, it's just this same old thing every night, yet more and more people keep turning up. And I think it's just this familiarity of the practice makes it really powerful. It's so simple. We don't have to do anything special. We just need to do it over and over and over again. So when we continually return our attention to the simple breath sensations in the body, we can begin this process of just kind of digging in a little bit to our habits of distraction and dullness. And like I said, you wouldn't eat a big meal and then go sit and meditate late at night because you'll be falling asleep. So we also have to be a little bit sensible about, what kind of food or drink we eat before we decide to meditate. You maybe wouldn't want to have maybe hot water before you do your morning practice is more sensible than coffee. Do you know what I mean? Because your mind's going to get busy once you start drinking coffee. Okay. So does anyone have anything else they want to share? Guys are very quiet, and I'm very good at talking. So if you want to, you're happy for me to keep going, blah, 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 I'm happy to. All right. All right. So now this next meditation is called mindfulness of breathing. So let's go to that. So here, the sensations of our natural breath are the object of our mindfulness. So emphasizing this practice of mindfulness as this simple act of repeatedly returning our attention to the breath sensations. So that the more we get to return our attention gracefully to the breath, the sensations of the breath, whether it's the rising and the falling of the belly or breathing in and out of the nostrils, the stronger the connection and familiarity between mindfulness and the breath will become. So we have a very intimate relationship with our breath. So one of the things we can also think about doing is when we notice a natural out breath, and the subtle feeling of physical release that accompanies an exhale, we can consciously associate that with an opportunity to release any bodily tensions and mental agitation, thoughts, feelings, movies in our head. And this way we can actually start to build up a positive connection with mindfulness and breathing. And this, then introspection comes along and says, whoop, whoop, and alerts us to the presence of an involuntary reactive thought, an involuntary disappearance off down some rabbit hole, or when we've become dull in our mind. So we remind ourselves to breathe out anything unnecessary or unneeded in this moment and just allow it to be, invite it to be. It's almost like you can open the gate of the dam and let it flow away and be released. So again, either sitting or lying comfortably. And draw your attention to your body and just allow yourself to be in touch with all the simple sensations there and settle the body into meditation. And notice any areas of softness or ease and relaxation and comfortable feelings. And can you welcome these feelings and allow yourself to enjoy them while they're there? And notice any areas of tension or tightness with uncomfortable feelings. Can we simply acknowledge them for the time being? Do we have to change them immediately for the better? Can we allow them to just be? Just for a moment. I mean, don't make yourself in pain or anything. And now check in with the sensations at your face. Are you tensing up any facial muscles? Check the sensations at the forehead and the eyes, the jaw. And can you very gently relax your face, the muscles there, and let in a different feeling, one of softness and ease and comfort? And can you allow this softening and relaxation to spread on its own to the rest of the body and help our body to settle into meditation in its own time? So among the different bodily sensations, see if we can highlight those sensations specifically associated with breathing. And so some of you will be happy to notice the subtle sensations around your nostrils, where you can feel the air flowing in and out of the body. Others may notice the movement of the chest, expanding and contracting with each breath. And others may detect the rising and the falling movements of the abdomen. And rest your attention on some of these breath sensations or one of them, and allow yourself to fully experience your in-breath and your out-breath. And now rest your attention with your breath. And each time you notice yourself exhaling, use it as an opportunity to release. Just letting go of anything that's unhelpful or unwanted. Just like the way we exhale out to let go of the stale air in our lungs. And if you wish, I would invite you to gently say the word release in your mind each time you notice an out-breath. This reminds our body it does not need to hold on to unnecessary tightness and contraction. This also reminds ourselves to let go of thoughts and memories and fantasy that preoccupy us. We can also release states of dullness and drowsiness. And just allow your drowsiness to flow away with the out-breath. So you're not forcing anything, you're not pushing anything away, you're just very gently releasing it, allowing it to flow away. Almost like you're very gently unblocking a dam, like the kind the beavers make. Take one little rock away, and gradually the water starts to trickle away. So we'll meditate now for a couple of minutes, and when you notice your attention is distracted elsewhere or you're feeling drowsy, just simply invite yourself to return to the breath sensations and to release your drowsiness or distraction on the exhale. Okay, just relax. How's everyone doing? I think the thing about doing a meditation class is that everyone gets into this kind of state of equanimity and no one really wants to talk, which is a good thing. When I first started the class at the YMCA, I invited people to share at the very beginning of the class. We lost about 20 minutes. It was very chatty. So now I don't encourage that at all. And we have very quiet, very subdued. So is there anything you guys would like to share? We have about 10 minutes before the end of class. And I'm going to give some suggestions for this coming week as well. Does anybody have anything that they have questions about or they're worried about? Or Phyllis, you often have a lot to say. Do you have anything to say tonight?
I could say a lot, but I don't know
Okay.
if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go on. I want to hear it. We've got time.
Okay, well, I'm in a lot of pain
Physical pain.
physically inside my body,
Mm-hmm.
and and my head, and mentally because I'm trying to make a decision. I have to make it by Thursday to move. Um,
To move where?
to another place. I own the condo I'm in, but
Mm-hmm.
if I have to retire, if I have to stop working, I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any savings or retirement. So if I leave and sell, I would. So someone has offered me a home, a house to rent at it's a lot more than my mortgage, but it's very reasonable for Santa Fe. I'm in
Mm.
Santa Fe, okay?
Oh,
You,
okay.
you didn't know where I was.
No.
Anyways, it was a family home, so and I've known the wife for 34 years, so I know, anyways, and she would be very helpful in taking care of things for me, not all the time, but some. Anyways, but I'm just tortured. When I feel good, no way, I'm not moving. And when I'm in pain, like every evening lately, I've been really in a lot of discomfort. Then I jump back. So when you were talking, I want to say at the end of this meditation, I finally wasn't in so much pain. And I could hardly do what you said. It's like your voice is very important to me. I just hear you start to talk and I start smiling and laughing. My cat loves you too. Anyways, but it was interesting because I've been really tortured through all of it except this last piece. And finally, the pain, the cramping, stop. But my mind was all over the place while you were talking, and yet
Mm.
it worked. I want to say that last week that happened too. And you made a suggestion because I said I'm not meditating lately, even though I've spent, much of my life doing meditation and
Mm.
can't. And you said hormones. So I did up my hormones and it's helped. I mean, my energy's better. I don't have as much brain fog during the day. And I have been able to have some. I'm not too much, but a little bit of meditation. So I wanted to give you feedback. I really appreciated you saying that and go, yeah, what about I'm already on bioidenticals. I mean, I take them and I go, oh, okay, I changed things a little bit and it's really helped.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And I'll talk to a doctor tomorrow who
Mm.
might be able to adjust things even more, but so that was interesting to me. My mind's all over the place. Am I leaving? Am I coming? Am I going? Am I dying? Am I living? While you're talking. But my body finally unwound. So I appreciate, it's like,
Yeah, and it may
oh,
be what that's telling me is that there's a large component of your pain is maybe going on in your mind as well.
yes,
And but I have to also take going back to the physical thing. When I came up from Rinpoche's house to Marin, I was in a lot of physical pain. Like there is this layer of tissue called the fascia that is over our organs. That was just kind of seizing up. And I went to finally got into the chiropractor, and she suggested I start taking collagen because I wasn't eating meat at that point. So of course the idea of grass fed, I'm like, what's that mean? Oh, that means that's a cow. And I started taking it, and honestly, within 3 days of taking collagen powder, I didn't feel so sore when I woke up in the morning.
So after you told me that, I'd been off protein and didn't have the collagen for about 3 weeks. I went out and bought the grass-fed collagen. I went, well, if if you say it's okay, it must be okay. And went back on protein because I really don't function at this age. I'm 80 very well without protein. So
And you mean animal protein?
yeah, animal protein. So
Yeah.
I'm better for it. I really need it at this point, right?
I'm starting to feel the same myself. And, I've been vegetarian for years. And then, when I started swimming and doing more yoga, and I was just like feeling tired all the time.
Right.
And then, I realized as I'm getting older, so then I started trying it and I realized, oh, this does make me feel a little bit better and
Right.
a little bit more, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and even His Holiness the Dalai Lama the doctor recommended that. He said, you have to start eating meat.
All right.
And a lot of the high lamas are eating meat because of the practices that they're doing. A lot of these tantric practices. I don't know. I mean, Kadrila is a big meat eater. So
Oh,
it doesn't have to necessarily mean that because you're Buddhist, you don't eat meat. But because there are also very many practices you can do to ameliorate that, you're not actually connected to the killing of the animal. And when you get the flesh in front of you, if you don't eat that with attachment and grasping, you do a medicine Buddha mantra and you blow on that meat, you can still bless the consciousness of the animal that was connected to that piece
oh,
of
wow.
flesh. So it's, if you're mindful,
Uh-huh.
the things are already passed away. And I'm not a big meat eater. Like the last time I had a piece of steak was on the 25th of August. But and there are days where I would prefer not to eat animal protein. But yeah, unfortunately, I've got to the point where, and I was having a discussion with another nun friend of mine who's feeling the same. We're getting to this age as we're getting older. It's just body needs a little bit more support. But anyway, Phyllis, getting back to your decision about moving, you've got until tomorrow to decide?
Thursday. No, I have to decide on Thursday.
Well, that's 2 days away.
I know. I mean, all day long, we're back and forth, back and forth. And most of the morning I felt really good and I was okay. I'm not leaving here. I love it here, and I live in a condo community that I've had this spot I purchased back in 99. And I love all the people here. We have wonderful neighbors. Do you know? I mean, because you lived, you just moved. So, well, yeah, I mean, they check in with me and, there's that whole community, but yeah. And so that I would really miss that. And the place I'm in, even though it's a studio space, it's really aesthetically beautiful. And that's how
You should stay where you are.
yeah.
We all think so. We all
I
think you
know.
should stay where
You
you
must
are.
have thought that too when you were having to move.
Well, we kind of had to because Judith had already made the decision, but her house was quite big, and but I think, my feeling is all the things that you're telling me are what I miss about San Anselmo, our neighbors, the community there. Although we have a nice community up here, and I'm just kind of learning about it, but I think carefully before making that decision.
Well, I am. I mean, I've
It
been
sounds like you are.
chewing
And
on it.
yeah, chew on it. And then you can, there are, I don't know if Geshe Sherrod, maybe you can ask him, can he do a mo to see what's the most beneficial thing for you to do?
Do a what?
A divination.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
He might have, or you can get in contact with Kopan. He's got some Kopan monks coming, I read today in the WhatsApp. So maybe they can do puja for you, or divination, and just help you make that decision. I don't know if it's I think 2 days is a little bit too soon, and you're going to
Well,
start.
I've had 2 weeks. I'm just,
Well, it's still not very long, and you have a beautiful neighborhood and a very aesthetic place you're living in. I don't know why. And you could die tomorrow. So,
if I stay and I get sick, I'm gonna go, I hope I can die soon.
well, if you stay and you get sick, there's lots of services in Santa Fe, and people can help you. And this amazing center, Tupten Nobeling, will kind of get into gear. You'll have a lot of support around you. So I wouldn't worry. And the thing that I knew about, sorry, everybody, we've gone off track a little bit. The thing that I knew about uh, Judith is that she made the decision for financial reasons.
Right.
And I honestly feel that it wasn't purely financial reasons, but she just wanted to be financially independent. But I think you're not going to be as left alone as you might think. So I think keep that in mind. You love your neighbors, you love your place, you've been there since 99. And what I saw about Judith moving, it caused her a huge amount of stress.
Really.
And maybe that's not what you need at this stage in your life.
I know that's one of the concerns of mine, that the stress level is just huge.
It's disruptive. And I can tell you personally, I'm still settling into this place, and I've been here since April.
Okay. Oh,
It just, and I'm, I honestly, it's just because you have to take, oh, what am I going to take? What am I going to let go of? What am I kitchen stuff? Blah, blah, blah. And then when you get there and you don't label it properly, and then you lose everything.
yeah, it's all in boxes and lost.
Yeah. If I was a kitchen knife, where would I be? It's like I'm wandering around. My friend Linda, I'm like, Linda, where did you put blah, blah, blah? It's like, I don't know. Anyway, so enough of that. I have to go and eat dinner before our next thing, but I want to make a couple of suggestions for our home practice. So try out either the mindfulness of breathing or the body scan during the week, and highlight the effect of, just kind of shine a light on this idea of introspection. So when you allow yourself to become aware of what it is that's affecting your body and your mind, and in your daily life, as you're going about your business, standing in the line at the grocery store, try out this exercise of kind of attending to the exhale and mentally reminding ourselves to release for just a few breaths. So particularly if you're sitting in traffic and you're getting agitated, that's a really good time to breathe. Or if you're standing in the line in the grocery store and you're running late, like I was just then, and you want someone to hurry up, and why are you taking so long? Or a bicyclist comes in front of you. Everybody seems to ride their bikes around here. I don't know. We have the biking dads every morning, these dads with their biking helmets and their little kids on the back riding them to school. It's very cute. I don't know what these people, they must be working from home. Anyway, I see a lot of that. So just, you're doing your breathing, and just to remind yourself to release for just a few breaths, and experiment to find if you can see a way to de-escalate reacting to things through the use of mindfulness. For me, the easiest thing to do is to breathe, give yourself some space, and take a step back. So what I want you to do next week when we meet on Tuesday is to, come along with anything that you've found helpful or anything that you found was challenging, and just share it with everybody. Because, what happens is when you start sharing, when you start discussing these things with each other, then you start to, you learn quite a lot. You get some ideas. It's helpful. Anyway, I'm going to eat some dinner, and then I'll see some of you at 8:00. Phyllis, please contact Geshe Sherab, and do know that you have a huge community there at Tupten Nobeling with some extraordinary people. So, you know, if you don't want to move, you don't necessarily have to, I don't think. And just let that settle in your heart for a little bit. You have a marvelous community there. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to eat dinner. Lots of love. See you next week. Shayla, thank you so much for hosting.